Frustrated by low yields? Stretch your income with STRC.
Package conflicts destroying your productivity, dependencies that don't play nice, versions that break everything.
Hey there, how's it going everybody? In this video, we'll be learning how to work with JSON data in Python. Now, if you've never used JSON, basically it's a very common data format for storing some information. And you're bound to run into this at some point if you haven't already. So you'll see JSON used a lot when fetching data from online APIs, but it's also used for configuration files and different kinds of data that can be saved on your local machine. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, but don't get caught up on the JavaScript part of the name. It was inspired by JavaScript, but is now independent of any one language. So pretty much every language these days has libraries for parsing and generating JSON data. So let's go ahead and get started and see what this looks like in Python. So first of all, I've imported the JSON library here at the top of the file, and this is part of the standard library, so there's no need to install anything. And I have a multi-line string here that is valid JSON. And you can see that this almost looks like a Python dictionary. So this JSON here has a key called people, and the value of people is an array of more objects. So in this case, it's just 2 more objects. And each object has a key of name, a key of phone, emails, and has license, which is just a Boolean of true or false. So right now, this is just a Python string that happens to be valid JSON. So let's see how to load this into a Python object so that we can work with the data more easily. So to load this into Python from a string, we can use the json.loads method. And so to do this, we can say data equals json.loads, and we want to pass in that string into that loads function. So I'll save that, and now let's print this out. So I will just print out data and run that. Okay, so we can see that it prints that out, but it's not very clean. It's kind of bunched together, but it looks like a Python
in Python as found, originally based on keys some type of data equal to JSON. JSON.loadS. Now I'm doing that number key. In this video, I'm going to show you how to work with JSON data in Python as fast as possible. So to get started, JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Now this is a standard language. JavaScript is really not an important part of the name, although it was originally based on JavaScript. Now the syntax for JSON is very similar to that of a Python dictionary. You can see the say valid JSON string right here. We start with our curly braces. We have a key. That key is associated with some type of value. In this case, it's an array or a list. Then inside of here, I have other JSON objects. I have keys, I have values, I can represent numbers, strings, etc. Now, one important note in JSON is you have to use double quotation marks, not single quotation marks like you can use in Python. Now, JSON data is commonly used for configuration files, storing some type of data, or commonly for APIs. So if you ever worked with an API before, you've probably received data back in JSON and had to send data as JSON as well. So let's see how we can take a string that is representing JSON data and actually load that in as a JSON object or a Python dictionary. Because look, it looks very similar to a Python dictionary. That means we're probably going to use a Python dictionary to represent it. So to do this is very simple. What I can do is type data is equal to JSON.loadS. Now I'm doing S because we're loading a string. You can also load a JSON file, which I will show you in a second. And then here I'm going to put JSON string. Now if I print out my data, you're going to see that I get all of the data here, except it's actually in a Python dictionary. So if I go ahead and print out data at, and let's just do the key students now, you're going to see that this works. I can get all of my students. I could also access, say, the first index here, and you'll see that I get that individual student. Now, since I forgot to mention this, I did import the JSON library to be able to do this. This is built into the standard library of Python. This means you don't need to install it. It's right here. You can just import it and then use it like this. Anyways, that's as easy as it is to actually load data in using the JSON library. We have a JSON string. We use JSON.load. Make sure we have the S at the end. Put the string, it gives us a Python dictionary. Now, if we have an error here in our JSON string, this will give us an error as well. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to load a string that's not valid JSON, then it's not going to work. You're going to get an error. So in the same way that we can load a string that is JSON data, we can dump a Python dictionary into JSON format. So let me show you how we do that. Now we have a dictionary already. It's the data dictionary. Let's just add a key to it. So let's say data at test is equal to true. Okay, just a random key here. Now if I want to dump this into a JSON string, I can do the following. So I'll just say new underscore JSON is equal to, and then I'm going to use JSON dot, and then this is going to be dump S, again, because we want a string, not a file. Then I'm going to put here the dictionary that I want to dump, which is data. So now if I print out new JSON, you see that we get our JSON data printed out like this. Great. Now, one other thing that we can do here when we are dumping our JSON data into a string is we can pass the argument indent. Now, this will actually give us a nicely formatted JSON string with the proper indentation. So in this case, if I go indent 2, that's the indentation level it's going to give us. So let's actually print this out now. And notice we get a nicely formatted JSON string. Now, if I want a higher indentation, I can do 4. And of course, now I get kind of the tab indentation that we usually use. Now, another thing that I can do is pass something called sort keys. Pretty intuitive. This is going to sort the keys in our JSON data. So if I do this now, notice we have age, full-time, ID, and name, whereas in here we had ID, name, age, full-time. Great. That's as easy as it is to work with JSON strings. Now I want to show you how to work with JSON files. All right, so I've just created a JSON file here in the same directory as my Python script. It just has the same data I had before in that string, but I've called it data.json. Now, one important difference here with JSON and Python is when you're doing the Booleans, you're going to have lowercase. So I have true with a lowercase t, non-uppercase. Just figured I would mention that. Okay, so that is my data. I'm now in my Python script. Let's say I want to load in this data file and get access to it as a Python dictionary. How would I do that? Well, it's very simple, but I first need to open the file. So I'm going to say with open. I'm going to put my file name, which is data.json. I'm going to open this in read mode, and I'm going to open this as F. Then what I can do is the following. I can say my data is equal to the same dictionary that I have right here. F2, that's fine. You can do with this. However, this is really all you
Imagine bringing your side project to life just by thinking about it. Meet Base 40.
Hey there, how's it going, everybody? And this video caught up on the JavaScript part of the name JSON and see the JSON. So to download as of this data variable and just print out the type of data, save that and run it, then we can see that that is a dictionary. So when we load JSON into a Python object, it uses the following conversion table. Let me pull this up here to convert this into a Python object. So when it parses out that string, if it finds a JSON object, it converts that to a Python dictionary. It converts JSON arrays into a Python list, a string into a Python string, integers into integers, and these real numbers and the floats. The true values you can see get converted to a capital case true and a capital case false. And null values get converted to a Python none value. So that is how these conversions happen. So now let me open back up our Python. So if I print out this data variable again, then run this, then we can see that so we have a Boolean value here, and you can see that this is now uppercase, and we also had a null value up here for the second object's emails as null, and we can see that that got converted to none. So those conversions did take place. So since our top level key here is a array of values, that should now be equal to a list. So since this is a dictionary, we should be able to access this key of people, and that should be a list. So let's print out the type, and let's access that people key of that dictionary. So if I save that and print that out, then you can see that that is a list. So that got converted. So now that we've converted that JSON to Python objects, it's going to be a lot easier to work with these. So now we can loop through all these people and access each one individually. So since that is a list, I could say for person in data and then access that people key there. And then for each one of those, we could just print out the person. So if I save that and run it, then you can see that it ran each of these people individually. And since each of these people in our original JSON are objects themselves, then those should have got converted to dictionaries as well. So now we can access those values within our loop. So if we wanted to access the name of each person, then we can just come here within our loop and say person and then access that name variable. So if I save that and run it, then you can see that now we're accessing the names of each person in that JSON file. Okay, great. So now that we've seen how to load a JSON string into a Python object, now let's do the reverse of that and dump a Python object into a JSON string. And to do this, we'll use the JSON.dumpS method. So in our